Arnold, we're back again.
Yes, sir. How are you?
For another video, amazing.
Good
but this
to see you.
time, we're gonna only specifically talk about real estate, and you're one of the highest performing real estate agents in Glendale, in LA. So I'm like, you're the perfect guy for this episode. So, how did you get into even like in this industry? What was your story?
Great question. I got in. Well, I was a salesman my whole life. So I started pretty much selling. I want to say from 17 years old, I was already like doing my first sales job. Jewelry, and then I got into Sears, just clothing, and then it was a Good Time Video, just selling whatever CDs and so on and so forth. Then pizzas, whatever, just always sales. Then at 21, I basically went and started working for auto parts. So started selling auto parts as a driver first and just front desk.
Yeah.
Then I went into management very quickly and realized that I'm pretty good at sales. Along the way, I ran into I want to say like really good teachers that I picked up good information from that really, I want to say, paved the future to the selling style that I chose. One of the guys was Jack Gravina. Jack Gravina used to, I don't know, he probably still sells auto parts. He worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts, and he was a huge guy. He was like 6'7", like 400 pounds, with the deepest voice. And I was like super young, and I was like very motivated to sell auto parts. I believe I was anywhere from like 21 to 28, I sold auto parts. Anyways, and one of the things I realized about him was he wouldn't sell auto parts, he would build relationships. And that's when I quickly realized that sales is not sales, it's relationships. And it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Yeah, it's like the opposite of what you think it is. Anyways, so one of the days when we were selling auto parts, we basically walked into a shop, a repair shop, and selling to businessmen is much more difficult than selling to just a regular client, because those are businessmen that are all day wheeling and dealing with clients to try to sell them or upsell them on their cars, right? The car repairs. So imagine selling to those guys. They're already sharks. So Jack, what he would do is he would walk in, and I would want to walk in and right away talk to the owner, and he would stop me. And I would say, well, why can't we just go in and talk?
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you see? And literally the owner's there and everybody's there, and I'm just like looking around. I'm like, I see a bunch of guys working, and you know, I see that we can go and talk to them. And he was like, no. And we're with O'Reilly Auto Parts. He goes, AutoZone, 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 AutoZone. He's like, these guys buy from AutoZone. I'm like, okay. He's like, what else do you see? I'm like, cars, a bunch of cars, they have a bunch of stuff. I'm not really seeing what he's seeing.
Yeah.
And we're just two guys looking at the shop. And then he says, baseball, and this, and that, and this. And now he started reading the pictures and the wallpaper and things like that that the people collect, right? The owner collects. So he's like, this guy's into baseball. This guy's into LA Dodgers. Then I'm like, okay, so he's like, so guess what we're going to talk about when we go in? I'm like, okay, Dodgers, which I know nothing about. I'm like, okay. So we walked in, and I'm just paying attention to what he's doing. The whole time, he didn't talk about anything except Dodgers. And the guy was super passionate about Dodgers, and Jack knew everything about Dodgers, but he was almost like a rival. Like, nah, they're going to lose this other one, blah, blah, blah. And they just went at it. And then he was like, I'll be back here. So, and I saw that account that wasn't ordering anything from us to start ordering from us. So I was like, man, all this guy does is just build relationships.
There was this quote I remember seeing. It was in this book called How to Win and Influence People, I think. And it was saying that to be interesting, you must be interested.
That's good. To be interesting, you must be interested. That's good. That's a good one.
So that's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah. So anyways, so little things like that, and it's hundreds of little things that add up to a good salesman. But at the same time, you have to do it with, like, you actually have to care. You know what I mean? Because people can tell when you don't. So what I'm doing is building genuine relationships with people. So anyway, so then I went, and one day my career at the auto parts store got, abruptly came to an end. We got bought out. At the time I was working for somebody anyways. Huge company came in, bought us out. They fired all the salesmen that were making good money, and they hired a bunch of people that made very little money. So I went into real estate. I was 28 years old. It was July 11th, 2018 when I got my license. So 7/11/2018.
Coming soon, the anniversary, yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. And anyways, started to practice real estate and got my license in the shortest humanly possible legal way to get your license. You have to do like 18 days each per license or whatever. So I did it like as fast as possible. Got my license and I thought that's it. I'm going to go shooting out and just, guns blazing, start selling real estate. And that's not really what happened. Instead, even though I was an incredible salesman, I could not sell a single house my first year.
Why do you think was the main problem?
So the main problem was I was not showing what I should have been showing. And it's so simple. So for example, that's a Samsung, this is an iPhone. And if I only show you iPhones, and if I'm online and I'm like, oh, hey guys, here's the new iPhone, it's for sale, blah, 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 blah. But let's say I own a store and I never show Samsung, the people watching don't know that I also have Samsung. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was only showing rentals. So my first year, I was only showing rentals on all of my social medias. And every time a rental popped up, I would show it. And then people would say, oh, wow, he's an amazing guy. Go and he will help you rent a house. The whole year, I couldn't figure it out why I couldn't find somebody to buy a house. Then it hit me a year into it, which I should have figured out way sooner. I mean, I feel retarded saying it, but a year later, I was like, what if I only show for sales? And what if I make that jump? I'm already good at making videos of, hey guys, this house just came out, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I would make a really fun and really funny video about the house. And that's how I kind of got my traction. Then it came to a point where with rentals, you don't make any money. So if you rent out a house, you make, $1,000 or whatever it is. And it came to a point where I was driving Uber, renting out houses, and I couldn't keep up with the bills. So supporting the family and pretty much just everything around my life at the time and the bills, I couldn't keep up with it. And I came to a point where I had absolutely no money at all. Like where your credit cards are maxed out, you're not going to file for bankruptcy because you're not giving up. And you have no more money in terms of you can't buy food. So it's that's zero, that type of zero. And anyways, I was looking at my Uber card, and I was driving Uber at the time. And I was like, okay, I just remembered this Japanese saying. It was basically the general took his samurai to Japan, and he came to the beach or whatever it was.
Yes.
And he basically said, samurai, you see the boats? Burn the boats. The samurai burned the boats. Then he said, hey guys, the ships are burned. We can't go back to Japan. We either go forward and kill everybody and win, or we die right here.
Yeah.
So
you have to go all in.
Absolutely. So I basically burned my Uber card and I said, okay, because I can't buy any more food, I'm like, I'm either going to starve and die and just like legitimately die, like game over, or I'm going to sell real estate and I'm going to make it. And I started showing only for sales. I got 3 buyers at the same time. One of them was an architect. The other one was a good friend that used to work at an auto parts store. And the other guy was a welder. And I opened 3 escrows at the same time and closed 3 escrows at the same time. So that's where I was like, okay, I can do this. And you slowly believe in yourself.
Do you think that was just life telling you, just give this up, and then you're like, I don't know what's going to come, but I know something is going to come?
Yeah, it was exactly that. And basically and my dad always says this, he says it in Armenian. Basically the saying is, God looks at you and he says, hey, if I'm taking care of the birds, don't you think I'm going to take care of you? So at the end of the day, it's if you have faith and if you push forward, you will achieve it. But there's so much more than, you can't just have faith and that's it. You also have to do the work. It's the same with working out. If you just believe that you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bodybuilder, your muscles won't grow without working out. You actually have to do it. And anyways, that's where your effort meets your belief. and then you can actually become a good salesman. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's how you started.
That's how I got into it. But it was so much more than that. It was every time I sold a house, I was actually sad because I was like, let's say Arin wants to buy a house. I just sold you a house. I don't know who the next Arin is that's going to buy the house. So it was like, holy moly. Like, okay, I just made $20,000, but now I don't know how long I'm going to live off of it until I find the next guy. That's the hard part in real estate that people don't understand.
So how do they go through those phases of, okay, like they don't know when the next person is going to come? How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with that, or how do people deal with it?
How do you?
Me personally.
Yeah.
So even to this day, everybody, even the best agents, they have no idea what's coming next. No matter who says what. You can kind of feel it, and you can kind of really guess what's going to happen. A good guess, you know? But it's still impossible to tell what is exactly going to happen. Like everybody thought that the rates are going to go up and the prices will go down. Well, the rates went up and the prices went up. So it's like, it's not exactly what everybody thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, finally, the prices are gently coming down, but the rates are still keeping high. So it's hard to tell what's happening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's like a mistake that you noticed that you made and also a lot of people make in the beginning stages? It's like, you just stop making this mistake, please. Everybody does that.
Oh, absolutely. So the main mistake everybody makes is they don't know what to say. They say the wrong things. So, for example, in real estate, it's more of, you can say the same paragraph and the same idea different ways, but it's going to have a different effect of when the guy perceives it and reads it.
So how you say it is
how you say it is absolutely important. So, for example, let me just give you an example. If you can't make a showing, right? Let's say you just don't have enough time. Somebody new might say, hi, and very professional. I noticed that everybody who's new writes very professionally. People that are very busy and selling a lot, they just get to the point very quickly. And they say it very confidently. People in the beginning, they're always second guessing themselves. But I think the way to at least be able to get closer to a good level is if before you send that paragraph to anybody or before you get on a phone call, whatever the case may be, ask yourself, if you got that as a buyer or a seller, how would you perceive reading this paragraph? So just twist the roles and try to understand what are you reading. Does that make sense? Before you send it. So let me give you an example, because I know it's very confusing. It's something along the lines of, let's say we have a showing and I can't make it. Somebody new might say, hi, unfortunately, I can't make the showing. And then they'll say something stupid like, it could be anything. It could be like, I'm taking my kids to school. Or anything at all. Well, it's like, didn't you plan it ahead? Didn't you do this? Now the buyer is like, he can be very negative towards you now. So the way you say things is very important. Somebody experienced might say something like, hey, I'm doing a showing right now and I have to be here with the thing, their mom's here, blah, 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 I'm busy. Push it forward an hour. Or I need you to come back tomorrow at 2 p.m. So they might say it in a way where they don't get pissed and they understand.
You're saying the way you frame it.
The way you frame it is everything.
Like that applies to in every single thing, even especially like talking to girls, dating, like approaching.
Correct.
I understand, yeah.
Correct. And especially with girls, it's very confusing in terms of, and I don't want to talk too much about girls again, but a girl can say something like, hey, should I wear this? And you get a picture of what she's wearing. And the way you answer that question is very tricky. Because if you say, no, wear something else, she can go very negative on you very quickly, like, oh, you don't trust me, blah, 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 or whatever. Or if you say, oh, yeah, I like that, then it's like, okay, maybe you don't care and you're just
saying it to say it.
You're just saying it to get it over with. So even that can be something along the lines of, what's my other option? Like, what else do you have to wear? And then she'll be like, oh, I have this other blue dress. And then let me see that one. It's either the blue one or this one. Then she puts it on. You're like, no, I like the first one that you wore. Does that make sense? So it's now she knows you're in it, you care, and you are also decisive, because women want somebody who understands or gives good directions, right?
Same thing with sales and real estate.
Same thing,
Yeah.
absolutely same thing with sales. It's very fragile. That fine line of people getting hurt is very fragile. And a really good salesman knows how to keep a good relationship and improve a good relationship. And everybody whose business is going down, they've just been ruining relationships. So, for example, somebody that I know has, let's say, a high ego as a real estate agent. And they will even yell at clients. So somebody sold a house to a client, then let's say the client calls and asks for a question, and their answer can be very rude. Hey, why don't you check your paperwork and you'll find out if you were reading it. Okay, you just ruined that relationship, bro. And then guess what? He's never going to recommend you to anybody else. So there's a lot of like one pop agents. Well, they'll just get one client, they'll pop them, and just that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's almost, when I went into business, there was two ways to do business. And my dad told me this. He said, you can kill a sheep once, but you can shave it forever. Like basically to gather the burt, you know, the wool, right? And you can, sell the wool off. It's cheaper, right, than the whole sheep, but you can do it for a long, long time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's all about the long-term longevity.
Longevity. So it's like when you're getting into a business, you want to ask yourself, how many years am I going to do this? Because you can get in and sell real estate for 2-3 years. You can get in and sell for the rest of your life. You can get in and sell for 10 years. But you have to also understand statistics. The first 90 days of somebody getting licensed, like, hi, Arin, here's your license. Within the first 90 days, 90% of people quit.
Why is that?
They don't get paid. So they're like, why do I have this license? It's
so are you saying a lot of people are getting into it, not necessarily because of the passion they have for the industry, but it's just money? Or because there's a lot of money in it? Because I don't like, I've seen a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to do this business, that business. But they're like, oh, what's the reason? Oh, like, I know it's popping right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's doing good numbers right now.
I don't know if people join because it's hot right now, or if it's cold or whatever the case may be. I think they get motivated shortly. So, for example, and this comes to me too, right? If let's just talk factually. I'm fatter than you right now, right? The only difference was you had more discipline going to the gym, and I didn't. You ate better, and you said no to the food, and I didn't, right? And just factually, right? So because of that, you made it to a better, let's say, physique than I currently am in. That's the same thing in real estate. So, for example, it could be something like, I have really good discipline in real estate, and people join real estate, and they don't have that discipline. So I'll go and I'll hit the gym for 2 hours hard, but you'll keep going to the gym for years. And that's the difference. So it's like, this body didn't take 30 days to make. It took maybe 4 or 5 years of you working out. And that's the same thing in real estate. It's people come in motivated to, oh, I'm going to make money. I'm going to sell real estate. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Within 90 days, their motivation dies.
So they're very outcome dependent.
Mm-hmm. Because they don't see progress. They don't see progress. It's the same thing at the gym. If I go for 90 days, work out hard, and if I even eat clean, and I see no results, I might quit. Does that make sense?
So you're basically saying you got to believe in the unseen.
Correct. Yeah. So you have to just keep going forever. Like, hey, if this is what you're going to do, and you made that decision and you're going to stick by it, then stick by it. Yeah.
How did you handle the phase that it was like that dark tunnel that you're going through, and you don't know what's going to come next, but you still were like, you know what, I'm just going to go? Was it that thing that you said, like, you just have to burn all the boats? Was it that?
That's a good question. And the crazy part about that question is it happens multiple times throughout a successful career.
So there's always, it's happening.
Oh, yeah. Because, let me put it this way. I never made the money that I made in my life. And for me, it was the first time. It's like, imagine right now you make no money, let's say, and now you're making $500,000, $600,000. Let's say this month you make $200,000. You're still Arin, but now you're Arin with $200,000 in 1 month. So for the first time you see it, you don't really understand it. And that's what happened to me. And I was like, what do I do with this money, right? So G-Wagon, Rolex, whatever. And I think everybody goes through that phase where they have to learn it the hard way. It's extremely difficult. Let me put it this way. I'm a good salesman, but the Mercedes AMG salesmen and the commercials and the guys driving around, they're amazing salesmen too. And they sold me on getting it. But it didn't do anything for my life, except what? Drive around a little bit and look cool for a little period of time. So that's where maturity comes in. And the guys that will hate in the comments, they haven't achieved it yet. When they physically, personally achieve something crazy in their life, it could be a day trader that, makes 300, 400 grand and then does it over and over and over again. He's going to get confident and cocky, and that's going to happen to everybody. And that's why I said there's multiple times that you're going to have dark periods in your life.
Do you think it happens when you get cocky?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it's almost like God's watching you, and he's like, oh, you're too cocky. Takes it all away from you. Then you're like, okay, I'm humble again. Please give me more. And then you go and work, and and then he takes it away again and again and again. So it could be something where you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you have a six-pack and crazy shoulders, and you're like, wow, I have a crazy Greek god body. And then you get an injury and you lose all your muscle. And then you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing everywhere. And it's hard to keep your head down and be humble and keep going.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it's a good thing to have high ego in those situations so you can be exposed to those low moments so you can learn?
I think so. Because if you are like, it's impossible to be that experienced without having the experience. You can't learn from other people's experience. If I tell you, hey, the fire is hot, or the pot is hot or whatever, and you've never touched heat, you can't just believe me. You have to touch it.
So you can't cross the bridge unless you cross the bridge.
Correct.
Basically. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. It's just impossible. You can't do it. Yeah. That's what I think.
And you're seeing a lot of people in real estate, they go through that. The ones that actually make good progress.
And not just real estate, everywhere. Yeah. I see everybody, even my friends, where I'm like, bro, please don't buy the Rolex. Don't buy the G-Wagon, bro. You don't need it. You're already married. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Who are you trying to impress? And they still go through it. And then they lose everything. So I see it all, and I can't control it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've seen families make it. Imagine, real estate is the only business where you see everything everywhere. So the relationships I've had are very long, right? So I'll see a guy single. I'll see him date the wrong girl. I'll see him go and buy the wrong things to impress her. I'll see him go buy the house, and I'll tell him, bro, don't do it. Don't buy this house, for example. He will still buy it. And then I've had a moment where I walked in and there was a Viking range, $10,000 range, okay? And the wife walked in and she looked at it and she showed a sign of disgust. And this thing was brand new. I want to say 2 months old maybe. And I was like, this is a Viking range. And she was like, do you think I'm going to let my kids eat where other pigs ate? That's what she told me, legit like that. And I looked at the husband and I was already thinking bro, you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way. A month later, 2 months later, after they finished the remodel, she had a $40,000 range. I forgot the name of it. It's French. It's insane, hand built. He spent $500,000 within 2-3 months of remodeling this house. He called me and he said, sell my store. The business. I'm like, bro, isn't that your business? He's like, yeah, sell it. I'm like, why? He's like, get rid of it. Sold it. He called me, he said, sell the condo. I'm like, bro, why? Sold his condo. It led to the point where he still got the divorce. He lost the house. She took the house. She took half of the money. And she left. So I will see it all from beginning to end. And then his ego had to go all the way back down to nothing. And he has to slowly start building it up. But now you're 50. Does that make sense? So it's I get to see all of that. And then I get to see the good, where they'll come in, The wife is like, hey, don't spend money on this. You don't need this right now, blah, blah, blah. And they'll live very humble, and they have a gang of money. And they're, even screw the money, they're living peacefully. As a real estate broker, you'll see actually people's lives, thousands of people's lives, and all of the scenarios. And then you'll understand, here's the canvas, here's the image, and you already know who's who. And you understand the chessboard, you understand all the players. That takes a lot.
What's a lesson you would tell somebody who's trying to get into real estate? Like they have no experience, but they want to get into it.
If they
From those experiences.
I would say real estate is not what it seems it is.
What's the illusion that people think it is, and what's the actual reality?
People think it's cool cars, fancy driving around, music, suits, hot girls, or if she's a hot girl, cute clothing all the time, and just like heels all the time. And it's just like, it looks just like in the TV shows. That's what people think real estate is. And it's the opposite of that. It's coming in you're going to the gym, you're working out, and you get a $2 million phone call with gym clothes, sweaty. You go show that house. You're pulling up into the driveway, or you're calling him and saying, you pull into the driveway, and then I'm pulling in. You go through the house in 3 seconds, you go back to the gym. That's real estate on a high level.
Spontaneity.
Yeah, you have no idea. I'll get calls at 9 p.m. and they're like, bro, I need to see this house right now. At 9 or 10 p.m., you're going to show a house. You're calling the agent to see if his Supra lockbox that you have to open to get the keys is on a timer. And then he's not picking up, so you're just winging it because it says go direct. Then you get there and then you can't open it. So it's like, you have no idea what real estate really is until you get into it. And are you willing to give up your weekends? Are you willing to just give up any time beyond demand and always pick up the phone? 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you pick up the phone if the guy calls. Because the rich guys, they will sit down, they'll talk about buying real estate, blah, blah, blah. And this guy will say, oh, no, that's not true. This other program came out from the government. This guy will say, no. 2 a.m. as they're drunk and high or whatever they're doing and they're rich, they will call you as a realtor and they'll say, hey, is this true? And you pick up the phone with enthusiasm at 2 a.m. And they're like, I love this guy. He always picks up the phone. And if you sit in front of a rich guy, when he calls and somebody doesn't pick up his phone call, when he hangs up, he says, man, I hate it when people don't pick up their phone. So each phone call can be $2-3 million phone calls. Yeah, it's very dangerous. Even the scam calls I pick up. When I miss a call, that could be a $2 million call. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's scary.
So you're saying a lot of people don't know what goes on, the work ethic, the schedules, the late nights.
Correct. It's you literally, if you're coming into this business, kiss goodbye to everything and just be in this business. Because if you're not, you're competing against the guy who is. And that's just the fact. Yeah.
That applies to basically everything. If you want to be an athlete, basketball player, you got to be just playing basketball all the time.
Yeah, correct. 24/7.
I see. What's like the main setback that a lot of real estate agents face when they're starting? What's the biggest problem for them?
Actually getting into lead generation with consistency and being able to close it. That's like the main thing. And when you do it enough, you understand that this is a numbers game. And one of the biggest obstacles for me was understanding how many people do I have to talk to for one actually to be able to be an actual lead. And it was 1,000 people to one person. And that's a big number.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you understand how you can build from there.
Interesting. So how did you go about finding those 1,000 people?
Good question. I would add 100 people every single day on Instagram. So for me, it was purely Instagram in the beginning. And I understood that every time I get to 1,000, which is not that bad, 100 people a day is 10 days. 10 days is 1,000. At 1,000, one of them would reply and say, hey, well, what's going on here? Then I would say, oh, wow, it's 1,000 to 1. Then I would say, 10 days equals $20,000, $30,000 in commission if I close it. And then you get good at closing. That's another big obstacle.
I see. So you're basically saying a lot of people are stuck in the process of not really putting in the volume. It's a lot of volume game.
Exactly.
Okay. So what's like an actual step-by-step guide of becoming a successful real estate agent?